Welcome to the Transform My Dance Studio podcast, powered by the Dance Studio Owners Association. Over the next 8 weeks, we are thrilled to be welcoming the one and only Hillary Parnell as our guest host for a brand new series, Plies To Profits. Hillary is the owner of Academy for the Performing Arts in North Carolina, and this very special series will give you an inside look into how Hillary has grown her dance studio as she shares her tips on building $1 million dance studio. We hope you enjoy Plies To Profits with Hillary Parnell.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Plies To Profits on the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. These episodes are jam-packed full of information to help you build a thriving and profitable business, all while finding freedom for yourself and a life you love. I'm Hillary Parnell, and I'm your host for a second season of this series, and I can't wait to dive into everyone's favorite topic, money, and how to cut costs. Just kidding. I know it's not everyone's favorite topic. I know you all want money, but most of you probably hate bookkeeping, banking, forecasting, and budgeting. Most of you just want to share your love of dance, make a difference in the world, and hope to make a little money in the process. I get that. I really, really do. But for some of you, it's all about the passion and the art and getting to do something you love every day. For others, you might be focused on running a strong business, but aren't quite sure exactly how to do that. You might love the creative side of business, like the marketing and the logistics and the implementation, but not the actual finance piece. That was definitely me. I knew I wanted my business to run like a business, but I didn't know exactly how to do it. I ran my company for the better part of 10 years, not understanding anything about our money at all. People would constantly tell me that I needed to pay attention to our books. And I just kept thinking, why? What difference does it make? I need more money. Why does it matter if I pay attention to them when I know the answer is more money? I needed to get out of debt. I needed to pay my bills. I needed to start giving myself a legitimate salary. The answer was just make more money. So why did I need to pay attention to my books? And why did I need to pay attention to the numbers? I didn't get it. Along the way, I ended up having a few really bad bookkeepers, and I finally took the plunge and started to pay attention to my numbers to save my business. I figured if I was going to do this, I was going to do it right, and I was all in. I ended up with overly complicated spreadsheets. I created exhaustingly long charts of accounts in my QuickBooks. I tried to balance my checking account down to like every single penny every month. And I really basically hit the opposite end of the spectrum. And that really didn't work either. I was spending so much time in the books that I didn't have any time left to make decisions. But it did teach me a lot. It probably took about 18 months for me to realize that I was going too far, and I needed to figure out exactly what I needed to pay attention to. So I learned through that process which numbers I needed to watch and which ones I didn't. Which numbers were most important, which ones were not. Which ones I needed to pay attention to monthly, which ones weekly, and some even just annually. Now I can glance at my profit and loss statement each month and red flags will practically jump off the page. But when I first started, I had no idea what a profit and loss statement even was. So for those of you who are still in the phase of not thinking this is important or thinking that, you just need to make more money, I'd like to try to convince you why it's the best thing you can do for your business. So let's think about it this way. I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but stay with me. Imagine you are going to a wedding in 3 months and you have a gorgeous dress to wear, but it's a little snug. You probably need to cut the carbs for the next few months to make sure you can fit into it. That dress hangs in the back of your closet. You think about it every once in a while. You always try to eat right, so you just sort of keep hoping the dress will fit in the end when the wedding rolls around. In this scenario, the odds of that dress fitting are pretty 50-50 if you ask me. You might hit the mark, but you're really not going to be sure until the day of the wedding when you pull the dress out and you try it on, right? In this scenario, maybe you don't hit the mark It turns out you thought you were doing great, but the dress is still a little snug. You strap on your Spanx, you feel a little sad, you're too uncomfortable to dance at the party and have a good time, and you end up leaving early. Now, imagine a different scenario. Imagine if you hang that dress on your bedroom door and you try it on every single day to check your progress. Then imagine that you notice that after a month of you trying, it's still a little snug. You buy a gym membership. You meet with a nutritionist. You join a Facebook group to keep you on track. You keep trying it on every single day, and your health and fitness stay in the forefront of your mind every day for 3 months. The day of the wedding comes and you don't even sweat it because you know that that dress is going to fit and you are going to look amazing. You're confident, you're glowing, you're the life of the party. You catch the bouquet, you meet your soulmate, you get married and live out your best life on a yacht in the middle of the Mediterranean. Do you see the difference in how those scenarios work out differently? The goal for both was simply to lose a little bit of weight. But the one where you focus on it daily, your subconscious mind kicks into gear and helps you make decisions that benefit you and move you closer to your goal. When we're talking about money, you might think you're making decisions on a daily basis to save money or to make more money or to make more profit. But you really don't know if the efforts you're making are going to work unless you know your numbers. And so you probably aren't doing enough. You're hoping you're doing enough, but you won't really know until after the fact. How many of you have waited to buy a big purchase until payday? Or for your business, waited to buy something until the day tuition money hits the bank? I know you have. We all have. Then at the end of the month, you're scrambling because there's no money left for payroll, right? But if you knew your numbers, you would know that the money that hits the bank is already allocated for probably 10 other things. And even though you see it in the bank, it's not really there for you to use. And you know that. So the moral of the story, learn your numbers. Just start paying attention to them. Ask your bookkeeper to teach you the key points. Go over them every month or every week at first. Make the overly complicated spreadsheets until you understand what you really need to know. Then pare it down into something more digestible. You will almost magically start to see the difference because the subconscious decisions that you make are going to always help your bottom line. So now you're paying attention to your money. You're paying attention to your books. The next thing that we're going to talk about is something that every business person already knows, but every non-business person finds almost repulsive. It is the fact that every dollar that comes through your business should make you money. For some reason, this idea seems wrong to us. Like it makes us feel greedy or money grubbing or like we're doing something immoral. We don't think it's fair to our customers. But in reality, you are only going to stay in business, serving your students and your community if you can realize this fact and do it unapologetically. You must make money on every dollar that comes through your business, and here's why. I'm going to set up another story for you. Let's use competitions as an example. Everyone knows that most competitions post their prices online, so it seems really difficult to add a markup because parents can go right to the website and know that the competition costs X number of dollars per dance or the convention costs X number of dollars for the weekend. But here's the thing. The product you provide by allowing your dancers to go to that competition is entirely different than if a mom took her dancer to that competition alone. Can a mom register her daughter for a dance competition these days as an independent? Yes, she can. But if she did that, would she have the camaraderie of the group, the benefit of a team, the support of a teacher? Would that mom have other moms to go to lunch with? Would that dancer build relationships with other dancers or make memories at the hotel pool? Would the experience be the same at all? No. The answer is very simply no. You're not simply a pass-through. You are the middleman. And every middleman on the planet marks up their product. Why? Because they buy from a wholesaler, they repackage it, they add value, and they mark it up to reflect that before they resell it. That is what you should be doing with every single item that comes through your business. And you should do it unapologetically because you're repackaging it with the best of intentions and adding your special, unique touch to it. You are adding some special magical sparkle that doesn't come with the product itself. It only comes with the product if they get it through you, whether it be the camaraderie that we talked about, or simply your logo, or simply the convenience of getting it through you. Yes, can they go to the dance supply store down the street to buy tights or shoes? Sure, but you are adding convenience, and you shouldn't be afraid to mark up for that convenience. Got it? Okay, so far we're paying attention to our numbers and our books that will subconsciously make us more money, and then we're unapologetically adding a markup to everything that comes through our business that we offer to our customers. Now let's talk about another sneaky way that you can save money on a daily basis that you may have never actually connected before. Did you know that being more organized can save you lots of money? For some of you, you might say, absolutely, I know that. That makes perfect sense. But if you've never actually thought about it before, you might be surprised. Let me give you a couple of examples. Have you ever waited too long to get a recital program ordered and had to pay rush shipping? That just cost you money. Have you ever collected money for a company dance and then realized later that the teacher wants an elaborate prop and it was too late to charge the parents, so you ended up paying for it out of your pocket? That cost you money. Have you ever run late at a dress rehearsal and had to pay the technicians overtime or additional rental fees to cover that extra time? That just cost you money. And all three of those examples are situations that could have been prevented had you been more organized. The more organized you are, the more money you will save over the course of the year. You will never pay rush fees. You'll have time to even price out different vendors and get the best deal. You'll know ahead of time how much your costumes will cost and if you'll need to add a prop fee or extra rehearsals to every dance, and you will charge accordingly. If you're more organized, you'll start on time, you'll stick to your schedule, and you'll never run late. One year, I was completely burned on backpacks for our company kids. They were a mandatory item, and we didn't confirm our price with our vendor before the order form went out to our kids. The ones we had gotten in the past ended up being discontinued, and the prices had gone way up. We couldn't find anything in our price range on the entire internet, and we ended up spending all of our markup plus some to get what we had promised to our customers. If we weren't doing that last minute, we would have confirmed our prices with the vendor, realized ahead of time that they were going to cost a lot more this year, and simply raised our prices to the parents accordingly. No big deal, and we would have covered our costs. These are just a few examples of how you can save money by being organized. Plan ahead, think through your budget, consider all the outcomes, and then save some money. So I hope you're still with me. I know money isn't the most exciting stuff, but really it is the big difference between running a small business and being the CEO of a company. If you can really get a handle on these things, make small changes every day, you will see a big difference in your bank account. But we're not done. Don't worry, I've got more. Next up, if you're really wanting to cut costs, it's important to look at the productivity of your employees and your payroll. For hourly staff like dance teachers, it's really important to make sure that they are all clocking in accurately. And this might not seem like a big deal if you only have 1 or 2 employees, but all of this scales very quickly when you start adding teachers to your roster. And I'm not saying that anyone would lie intentionally, but everyone can make mistakes. Another story. A long time ago, I would allow my teachers to just clock in whenever they needed to. It didn't matter as long as it was all done before the end of the month when I had to do payroll. Seemed reasonable and generous on my end. Well, after going back and realizing I needed to audit it at some point, I realized two really crazy things. One, I had been paying one teacher the wrong amount all year, and it was too much. And she didn't notice, and I don't think it was malicious, but I couldn't go back and ask her for her money back. And number two, I was double paying a lot when someone got a sub. Basically, when someone got a sub for a class or for the night, but didn't clock in until the end of the month, they put in their hours for the month and forgot that they maybe came in late that day or left early another day or didn't come in at all, whether they had an appointment or even the studio was closed. Of course, the sub remembered to add her hours because it was something out of the ordinary and she wanted to get paid, and I was ending up paying people twice. And again, it doesn't seem like a whole lot when you only have a few teachers, but now I'm running 7 rooms with 20-some teachers, and if everyone did that even once a month by accident for an hour, I'd be paying hundreds of dollars a month extra in payroll and thousands of dollars a year extra in payroll. It really adds up. It could also happen if people are clocking in too early in the month or even at the beginning of their shift. We all think we know what we're going to work that day, but we don't really know what's going to happen. Someone could leave sick, we could close early for weather, classes could get combined for some reason. So there are 2 ways to prevent this from happening. One, I now urge all my teachers to clock in immediately after their shift before they leave the building. Pretty simple. Second, I actually have my HR person send me red flags for approval at the end of every month. So she has a simple chart of what every teacher is supposed to make if she teaches all of her classes each week. If anyone is more than 30 minutes off of that number, she sends it to me to do some digging. Most of the time, it's something very simple, like they got a sub and I can find the hours made up on someone else's timesheet. But I have caught a lot of mistakes this way. It's an extra step, but it could really save you big time in the end. For your admin staff and paying attention to their payroll, I highly recommend a time tracking app and semi-annual observations. I coach my team a lot about time management and productivity and multitasking, and it's just not something that everyone is great at. We talk a lot about staying focused and taking mental breaks and setting your day up for success. But my favorite thing to do is actually full day observations. For all of my senior staff, I put aside one entire day for each of them. And I basically sit there and I don't talk to them about things. We don't meet, we don't discuss, and I just write down every single thing they do in an entire day. It can seem kind of tedious and almost a waste of time, but every single time I have done it, I have come across some major revelations. The first important thing that I do is I actually pretend that I'm watching one staff member while I'm really watching another. If you're sitting next to somebody, they're going to put on their best behavior and they're going to do everything that they think is right. So while I'm sitting next to one of my staff members, I'm actually writing down everything that a different staff member does throughout the day. What I have found is that it helps give me lots of information to help them be more productive, but also helps me streamline things and make sure nothing is being done redundantly. You will see things pop out at you and wonder, okay, why are you both doing that? Or why are you doing that and then you're undoing that? Or why are we doing this extra step when this could be done in 2 steps? So the light bulbs will go off as you sit and watch them, and you will see lots of ways where you can really trim what they're doing and ultimately save you money. If your team is more productive and effective with their time, they will save you money. Time is money. So, I know I've talked a lot about ordering costumes from one company to get the biggest discount possible. Check a whole episode in season 1 about how to make sure costumes are saving you money and making you the biggest profit margin. But I'm going to add to that for this season, because I said I wasn't going to repeat anything, and really talk about sticking to your costume budget. Because it's one thing to have a budget, it's one thing to set that budget low, it's another thing to actually stick to it. And I know that people do not always stick to their budget because it's easy to do. Let me kind of walk you through something. I used to always say it's fine if one costume goes over budget because so many others are so far under budget, right? But that's not exactly as true as you'd like it to be. When you run your books by what you think versus what you know, you can get into trouble. Let's look at it this way. You are buying hundreds, if not thousands of costumes. And let's say, for the sake of simplicity, that you charge $100 for every costume. And let's say, again, for the sake of simplicity, that you have budgeted $75 for every costume, assuming that you will make $25 for every costume that you purchase. You're buying costumes for all of your classes, and you start to realize that most of them are coming in around $65, and you're like, woohoo, I'm making more money. Then you hit one, and a costume that your teacher wants, that you have already shown the kids that you absolutely love and is so perfect for the dance, comes in at $100. You're like, okay, no problem. I have saved so much money on all those other costumes. I'm sure I'm fine. We're going to go ahead and just approve this one costume for $100. But if you really went back and scrutinized the data and the numbers, you would realize that most of those costumes that you thought were coming in at $65 were before tax, before shipping, before returns, and before alterations. You also ended up having to return 3 whole classes because they weren't right, and you had to pay the shipping on those. And then another teacher wanted another prop for that one class that she just had to have. And then you realize that that one that you approved for $100 is for a production that has 70 kids in it, but you already showed the kids and they're super excited, so you end up doing it. And really, in the end of the day, you have no idea where you have fallen on the budget scale. Has something like that ever happened to you? I bet it has, in some way, shape, or form. But if you stick to that $75 budget like your life depends on it, then you know you will come in under budget on costumes. You know you will never go over, because it can be a really slippery slope when that number starts to get gray. There's no guessing or hoping. You can guarantee that you're going to make $25 per costume. You can use that information to budget for something in the future because you know you're making $25 per costume. And then anything above and beyond that is like icing on the cake. Okay? So becoming diligent in these things and making them habits is really what is going to start making a big difference in your bank account. There are a few obvious things that you can go through, but I imagine most of you already know these things. Go through your checking account and identify every single charge, right? You'll come up with subscriptions that you forgot you were paying for. You can call your phone or your internet company and see if you can get on a better plan. Oftentimes new plans or promotions come out that you were eligible for, but you didn't even know it. You should be price checking all of your merchandise before publishing your price, like we talked about the backpacks. Try to do pre-orders on all special edition items instead of ordering them and then having to keep inventory, because inventory is money. Have someone price check your daily items, like all the products you use on a daily basis, like your printer ink, toilet paper, soap, hand sanitizer now. Have them check that often. We always check it at least once a year, and honestly, it's probably more like twice a year to make sure that we are getting the best deal. Use subscription services like Amazon Prime, things like that. And I have one more trick that I think you're not going to like, but will make a huge difference. Don't keep your credit card in your wallet. It's a simple thing, but you should not keep your business credit card with you at all times. It's a simple thing, but it will make you really question each and every purchase, which will keep your spending down. I keep mine in a lockbox in the office and have to physically go get it when I need it. So that means no random purchases when I'm walking through Target. Yes, that gold geometric bookend would look lovely in the staff lounge, but if I'm not thinking about it later, go physically get the card, make a special trip back to Target to get it, I realize it's not that important. I started this process when I realized that I was an office supply addict. I could not get out of any store without buying designer binder clips or a glittery handled scissor set. So I put someone else in charge of buying office supplies and I hid my card from myself. If it is something important enough or something that you're planning to purchase, then great. It's fine. You'll go get the card and you'll buy it. But it will really cut down on the random costs throughout the month. And I have another credit card trick, and that is to pay attention to your merchant services fees. It used to be actually illegal to add the 2 or 3% credit card fee to charges to your customer, but it's not anymore. I don't actually charge that fee on our monthly tuition because it's worth it to me for people to have the convenience of autopay, and that way I know I'm getting my money on time and there's no hesitation in doing that. But anytime we have big events that people need to pay large amounts of money, like costumes or recital fees or competition fees, I actually encourage them to write a check or I ask them to pay the 3% credit card fee to cut down on those expenses for me. I am so proud to say that the year we figured that out, my accountant told me that we were the only company he has ever seen that increased revenue but decreased merchant services. That 3% really adds up. If your revenue is $500,000 in a year, your 3% merchant services fees is $15,000. Imagine if you're $1 million business, that's $30,000. So it's definitely worth paying attention to, even if you're a smaller business now, so that as you grow and scale, you're not throwing that money away. Now, before we wrap up this episode, let's go through everything one more time and see just how much you can really save in your business, just by implementing the things that we've talked about. First, we talked about how important it is to know your numbers. Over the 2 years that I really buckled down and started paying attention, my revenue increased by $200,000 and my expenses went down. So I'm not going to exactly quantify that for you because every business is different and every business size is different, but I would say it is significant. Then we talked about how being organized and staying on budget can help you save money. I would easily say you could save a few $1,000s if you focused on that alone. Not paying rush fees, not paying late fees, not going over time or over budget on costumes. Then we talked about making sure that your team is as productive as possible and you're not overpaying them. One year, I actually fired a part-time administrative person who was making about $25,000 a year. And after evaluating my other staff members, I realized that I didn't need to hire someone new. My team had enough time to absorb her workload, and I saved $25,000 that very following year. Then there are the little things like price checking and hiding your credit card and putting someone else in charge of office supplies. And finally, paying attention to those merchant services and see if you can cut down that expense. If you did all of that, depending on the size of your business, I could easily see you saving between $10,000 and even $50,000 in your first year. So it's definitely something you want to focus on. Okay, we have covered a lot in this episode. I really try to give you something to take away and implement right away to make a difference. Hopefully you found a few nuggets in this episode that you can turn into savings right away. And remember, you may have heard some of these things before, but you don't really know something unless you are doing it. So do it. Go right now and hide your credit card or schedule a day to observe your staff members or call your bookkeeper or accountant to set up a meeting and learn more about your books. Take action. You'll be so glad you did. On the next episode of Plies to Profits, we're going to think outside the box. We're going to make a giant list of all the ways you could possibly find more money in your business by doing things that you don't always think go along with owning a dance studio. I don't want to give them all away just yet. You'll have to tune in next time. I'm Hillary, and I will see you next time on the Transform My Dance Studio podcast.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to join us over in the Dance Studio Owners Hub Facebook group for more resources and support in growing the dance studio of your dreams while reclaiming your life.